there is a kind of tired that sleep does not fix. I had carried it for years before a woman in a small lake town in Japan showed me what it actually was and what it cost to put down. Almost nothing, it turned out. That is the strange thing I want to tell you about today. 10 small habits I watched her live, and not one of them asks for a single coin. So let me name the first one right away, because it is the simplest, and because I think half of us are doing the opposite of it 3 times a day without noticing. She stops eating before she is full, not when the plate is clean, not when she is stuffed and a little sorry. She stops at the point where she is no longer hungry, and there is still a little room, and she sets her chopsticks down there on purpose. There is an old phrase for it that she learned as a girl, hara hachibu, which means, more or less, belly 8 parts full. Eat to about 80% and stop. That is the whole habit, and it costs you nothing. In fact, it costs you a little less, because you buy a little less and cook a little less, and the body it leaves you with at 70 is a lighter, easier body to live in. Her name is Emiko Yoshida. She is 70 years old, and she lives in Matsue, a quiet castle town on the far western side of Japan, set down between 2 lakes where the land meets the sea. They call it the City of Water. Her small wooden house faces the larger of the 2 lakes, Lake Shinji, which is one of the most famous places in the whole country to watch the sun go down. People drive a long way to stand on that shore in the evening. Emiko just opens her shutters. I want to be honest with you about something before we go on, because it matters, and because this channel does not pretend that 80% habit did not begin in Matsue. It comes from Okinawa, far to the south, where the old people have said it before their meals for generations, and where more people live past 100 than almost anywhere on earth. Emiko learned it from a book decades ago and kept it because it suited her. I tell you that because I would rather you trust me on the small things than be impressed by a tidy story. She is not a keeper of some secret wisdom. She is a thoughtful woman who found a good idea and held on to it. That is all any of us can do. That is the first of 10 habits I want to walk you through, the way Emiko actually lives them, across one ordinary day in that house by the lake. And I will promise you this now, by the end, I will have named all 10, plainly, so you can keep them. Not one of them costs money. Most cost nothing but a little attention. So, if you would like to hold on to them, this is a good moment to find something to write with. But before the next one, let me give you the rule that runs underneath this entire video, because without it, the rest is just a list, and a list is the last thing you need. You do not have to do all 10. You do not even have to do 2. If all you take from the next half hour is the one habit your own day is most plainly missing, and you keep just that one, then this was worth your time. A small thing kept is worth more than a large plan dropped by Friday. Hold that. It changes how you hear everything that follows. Now, the eating is the first habit, but it is wrapped inside a second one, and the second one is the meal itself. In the morning, Emiko does not stand at the counter with toast and a hurried cup of something. She sits. She makes what the Japanese call asagohan, which simply means the morning meal, the morning rice, and she gives it the same quiet attention you might give a guest. A bowl of rice, a little grilled fish, or just a pickled plum if the morning is plain, a small bowl of miso soup, steaming, a pot of green tea. None of it is expensive, and none of it is much, and she is not eating it standing up while she thinks about the day. She is sitting down inside the day at its very beginning, eating slowly enough that the 80% habit even has a chance to work. Because here is the part the diet books never mention. It takes the body about 20 minutes to notice that it has been fed. If you eat in 5, you are full long after you stopped needing to be. If you eat slowly, the way Emiko eats her asagohan, your own body has time to tell you the truth. She told me once, pouring the tea, that the morning meal is the meal that decides the day. Rush it, she said, and you are already behind before you have begun. Sit with it, and the whole day seems to have more room in it. I have thought about that a great deal since. I used to treat breakfast as a thing to get past on the way to something more important. It took a 70-year-old woman in a wooden house to make me see that the morning was the important thing. I had been skipping the best part to get to the rest, and I should say, this is the gentlest possible place to begin. If you begin anywhere at all, you do not need her fish, or her miso, or her particular tea. You need 10 minutes, sitting down, with whatever you already eat. Keep the food you have, and simply sit down with it. If that is the only habit on this whole list you ever take up, your mornings will be different by the end of the month, and you will have spent nothing to make them so. The third habit takes Emiko out of the house, and it is the one I have come to love most, because it is free in a way that almost embarrasses the modern world. She walks among trees. Most days, after the morning meal has settled, she takes a slow walk along the lake and into the low wooded slopes that rise behind the town. Not fast, not for exercise, exactly. There is a name for this in Japan, Shinrin-yoku, which translates, beautifully I think, as forest bathing, not bathing in water, bathing in the forest, the way you might let warm water surround you. Except here it is, the green light and the cool air and the smell of leaves and earth that surround you instead. She does not count her steps. She does not wear anything that measures her. She just goes among the trees and lets the trees do what they do. Now here is one of the very few places in this video where I am going to lean on the science, and I will do it carefully, because this is the kind of thing that gets oversold. When researchers actually measured what happens to people who spend time in a forest this way, they found something quiet and real. A large review of the studies, gathered a few years ago, found that people who spent time forest bathing had measurably lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone the body floods itself with when it feels under threat. The forest groups were calmer in the body, not just in the mood, than people kept in the city, and the time it took was not heroic. Around 20 to 30 minutes among the trees was enough to move the needle. Emiko never read that study. She has been doing the thing it measured for 50 years, and the research, when it finally arrived, simply confirmed what her own body had always told her. That is usually the order of things here. The tradition comes first. The science comes later, a little out of breath, to agree. Let me be fair though, because I owe you that. 20 minutes in a wood is not a cure for anything, and I am not going to stand here and tell you it is. Some days, a walk does not lift the weight at all, and you come home as tired as you left. The science says the forest helps the stressed body settle. It does not say the forest fixes a life. I would rather tell you that plainly than hand you a promise that breaks the first hard week you have. But on most ordinary days, a slow half-hour among trees does something that no room indoors quite manages, and it is there for free, behind almost every town, waiting. So if you do this one, do not make it a project. You do not need a forest even. A row of trees in a park, the greenest, quietest street near your home. 20 minutes, no phone, no counting. That is a complete beginning. The trees are not charging admission. The fourth habit happens back inside, and it is the quietest of them all, and it is the one I would call the heart of the whole day. Emiko sits still. Once a day, usually in the late afternoon when the light off the lake has gone long and gold, she sits by the window, and she simply stops. A few minutes. No music, no television, no task in her hands. There is a phrase she used for what she is reaching for in those minutes, and it is the most beautiful phrase I brought home from that whole season. Mizu no kokoro, a mind like water, she said, the kind that holds the mountains and the sky in it perfectly, clear as a mirror, until someone drops a stone and it all breaks into ripples. A mind like still water reflects what is in front of it truly. So once a day, she lets the ripples settle. She does not chase a feeling or empty her head by force. She just sits where the lake can see her and waits for the water inside to go still. I asked her, the first time I watched her do it, whether she was praying or meditating or what I should call it. She seemed amused by the question. "I am letting the water settle," she said, as if that explained everything, and I suppose it did. She lives 40 steps from one of the stillest lakes in Japan and has spent 70 years watching it go from churned and gray to flat and golden and back again. Of course, the lake taught her this. She did not learn a technique. She learned to do, inside herself, the thing she had watched the water do outside her window every day of her life. And you do not need her lake. That is the part I want to be sure you hear. A chair by any window will do. 5 minutes, once a day, no task and no screen. Just sitting and letting the churn of the day settle, the way silt settles in a glass of water if you only stop shaking it. If that is the one habit out of all 10 that you keep, you will have given yourself something most people our age are starving for and do not know it. A few minutes a day in which nothing is being asked of you. It is free and it is yours. You have only to sit down and stop. The 5th habit is the tea, and I have been waiting to tell you about the tea, because in Matsue, it is not a small thing. This is one of the great tea towns of Japan. 200 years ago, the lord of this very castle was a famous tea master, and the people here still take their tea seriously, the way other places take their wine. So when Emiko makes tea, she makes it with attention. She warms the pot first. She watches the water, because tea scalded by water too hot goes bitter, and she has learned the exact moment to pour. She waits while it steeps, and then she drinks it slowly, often looking out at the lake, holding the warm cup in both hands. The tea itself costs a few pennies a cup. The attention costs nothing, but the two together turn a hot drink into a small ceremony that punctuates her day, morning, and afternoon, like the chiming of a clock you actually want to hear. Watching her, I understood that the point was never the tea. The point was the pause that the tea gave her permission to take. You are allowed to stop for a cup of tea. No one questions it. And so the cup becomes a doorway into a few minutes of stillness you might not otherwise have let yourself have. She was not being fussy or refined. She was using an ordinary cup of tea as a reason to sit down and pay attention twice a day. And you can do that with whatever you drink, in whatever cup you already own. The ceremony is not in the leaves. It is in the attention you decide to bring to a thing you are going to do anyway. The 6th habit is so small, it is almost not a habit at all. And yet I think it may be doing more than any of the others. Before her morning meal, before her tea, often before she has said a word to anyone, Emiko pauses for a breath of plain gratitude, not a long grace, not anything formal, just a moment at the table where she lets herself notice that she has woken up again, that there is food in front of her, that the lake is still there beyond the glass. A half a second of thank you, aimed at no one in particular and at everything at once. She does it before she eats, every time, even alone, even over the plainest bowl. I asked her why she bothered, eating by herself as she so often does. She looked at me the way you look at someone who has missed the obvious. "The food does not know if I am grateful," she said, "but I do, and I would rather be a person who notices than a person who does not." That stayed with me longer than almost anything else from that whole trip. A person who notices than a person who does not. The pause costs nothing. It adds not 1 minute to her day, but it changes the day from a thing that simply happens to her into a thing she is awake inside of. And here is the part I have come to believe, slowly, after resisting it for years as too simple to be true. The gratitude is not a reward for a good life. The gratitude is part of what makes the life good. I had that backwards for a long time. I thought you felt thankful because things were going well. Emiko had it the other way around. You notice what is already good, and in the noticing, more of it becomes visible. You do not have to believe me. Try it for a week, one small pause before one meal a day, and see what you start to see. The 7th habit is about the light, and it is one she learned, she said, from her grandmother. Emiko rises with the early light and lets it into the house at once. She opens the shutters on the lake side first, where the morning comes in low and clear off the water, and lets it fall across the room and across her face. While she moves through the first slow tasks of the day, she does not flick on a hard electric light against the dark and call the morning started. She waits for the real light, the free light, the light that has been arriving over that lake for longer than the town has stood, and lets that be what wakes her. There is something in the early light, she told me, that the body believes in a way it never believes a switch. I think she is right, but I do not need a study to know that a face lit by morning light off a lake looks more awake than a face lit by a bulb. The light is free. You have only to be there when it arrives and to let it in. The 8th habit is rest, and it is not what you might expect, because it is small and deliberate and built right into the middle of the day. In the early afternoon, when the body naturally dips, Emiko lies down. Not for long, 20 minutes perhaps, on the tatami floor with a thin cushion in the warm part of the house. She does not feel guilty about it, which I think is the real lesson. Where I come from, lying down in the afternoon is something you apologize for, something you only do if you are unwell. Emiko treats the short rest as simple maintenance, the way you would not run an engine all day without letting it cool. She wakes from it clear and ready for the long golden hours of the evening when most people her age are already fading. The rest costs nothing. It asks only that you give yourself permission to stop in the middle of the day, which, for a great many of us, is the hardest free thing in the world to do. The 9th habit is people, and it is the one that I believe keeps her, more than the food or the trees or the tea, from the loneliness that hollows out so many lives after 70. Emiko makes one small connection a day, just one. A few words with the woman who sells vegetables, a short walk to a neighbor's gate to ask after her knee, a telephone call to her daughter, who lives a train ride away and visits when she can. It is never grand, and it is never a performance. It is simply that she does not let a whole day pass in silence, sealed inside her own 4 walls. One real exchange with one other human being, every day, by choice. I watched her do it without effort, and I understood that it was not luck or an easy nature. It was a habit kept for decades, on the days you feel like it and the days you do not. A widow who speaks to one person a day is a widow who has decided, again, to stay in the world. And it costs nothing. The reaching out is free. What it saves you from has no price at all. And the 10th habit closes the day the way the first one opened it, gently, on purpose. In the evening, Emiko winds down slowly. She does not work right up until she drops into bed. As the light fails over the lake, she dims the house. She has her last cup of tea. She moves through the small closing tasks without hurry, putting the day to bed before she puts herself to bed. And often she sits a last few minutes by the darkening window, watching the famous sunset that strangers drive for hours to see, the sun going down red and enormous over Lake Shinji, the same lake that taught her the still mind in the afternoon, now setting the whole sky on fire. Then she sleeps. No screen glowing in the dark, no racing thoughts carried into the pillow, just a day brought gently to its close by a woman who has learned that how you end the day decides how you begin the next one. The evening wind down costs nothing. It only asks that you stop a little before you must, instead of crashing into sleep at a run. So let me ask you one thing now, before I gather the 10 together, and I want you to actually answer it, not just let it pass. Of everything I have described in that house by the lake, the eating and the sitting and the trees and the tea and the morning light, think about your own ordinary day, the real one, the one you will live tomorrow. Which of these is most plainly missing from it? Not which one sounds nicest, which one is simply absent. Take a moment with that, Do not rush it, because that missing one, whatever it is exactly where you begin. That is the rhythm your own days are quietly asking for, and it is the only one you need to start with. Now, everything I learned in Emiko's house, the morning side of it and the evening side of it, I gathered up and set down in 2 small books, a morning book and an evening book. The small rituals laid out 1 to a page, so you can keep them by the bed or the kitchen window, the way Emiko keeps the things she loves close at hand. If you would like them near you, the link is in the description just below this video. And for those of you watching this on a television, the little code you can see on the screen will open the page for you with no typing at all. They are there if you want them, and never something you have to have. And here, before I leave you, are the 10 again, simply so that you can hold them, stopping the meal at 80% full, with a little room left. The morning meal taken slowly, sitting down inside the day, the slow walk among the trees, 20 quiet minutes of forest bathing, the few minutes of stillness, the mind let go calm like the surface of the lake, the cup of tea made and drunk with full attention, the half-second pause of plain gratitude before the meal, the early light let into the house to wake the body the way a switch never can, the short afternoon rest taken without apology, the one small connection with one other person every single day, and the slow, unhurried winding down of the evening, the day put gently to bed. 10 habits. Not one of them costs a coin. Take a picture of this screen if you would like to carry them with you, and then forget 9 of them and keep 1. I mean that. The one your day was missing, the one you named a moment ago. Begin there, this week, with that single thing, and let it be a complete beginning, all on its own. You can add another when the first one has become so much a part of you that you would miss it if it were gone. There is no hurry. There was never any hurry. That was rather the whole point. If this is the kind of slow, ordinary, unhurried living you've been looking for, come and sit with us a while. Subscribe to The Slow Way, and I will see you in the next one. Tonight, somewhere on the far western edge of Japan, the sun is going down enormous and red over Lake Shinji, and an old woman is sitting at her window with the last of her tea, watching the water go still.